sequel to our previous video on genetically modified organisms, GMOs, Professor Sylvia Uzochukwu and the Biotechnology Society of Nigeria (BSN) both strongly urged the National Assembly not to heed Njemanze's advice and insisted that genetically modified crops are not a national security threat or form of biotech terrorism, according to them. These crops have been rigorously tested and regulated before commercial release to ensure safety for human health and the environment, even as they have been happily consumed in Europe, America, South Africa, China, and other parts of Asia for more than 25 years without adverse effects. Now, here are some questions for them to answer. First, have they checked the root of many diseases plaguing these countries or continents that they have mentioned? Have they also asked why their populations are drastically going down? Did they research on the adverse effects of these people's immune system over time? Many countries in Europe have banned the use of genetically modified organisms after seeing the long-term effect on their population and environment. Some of them are paying their citizens to try and have children, as the quality of sperm in men have really gone alarmingly low due to chemicals in our food and environment. Countdown, a book by a renowned epidemiologist, Dr. Shana Swan, warns about the threats posed by hormone-disrupting chemicals and our modern environment that are endangering reproductive health, fertility, and the fate of humankind. In the book, she stated that the loss of insect population due to harmful insecticides and herbicides has impacted negatively on the food chain. And this is not to talk about genetically modified foods that contain insecticides in them. When insects eat them, they die. What then happens to humans upon consumption of these foods? Let that sink in. Many countries like India, Russia, Algeria, Ghana, Uganda, etc. have all banned and rejected these genetically modified organisms, knowing what they are: poisons. A depopulation agenda according to Bill Gates. And here is Nigeria, the supposed giant of Africa with more educated people in the continent of Africa, accepting it and signing it into law to be distributed. It is shameful that the Nigerian government is not even listening to its educated folks, but rather actively working with Bill Gates to bring this genetically modified organism calamity upon its citizens. What a government! Now, scientific articles have reported that genetically modified foods have shown that they may toxically affect several organs and systems in the body. The results of most studies with genetically modified foods indicate that they may cause some common toxic effects such as hepatic, pancreatic, renal, or reproductive effects and may alter the hematological, biochemical, and immunologic parameters. What else do you need to know in order to reject these foods and seeds? Is it when you have rendered your population infertile and sterile? After all, Bill Gates said, and I quote, "My full-time work at the foundation is mostly about vaccines and seeds." First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people that is headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really good job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Did you hear that? 10 to 15%. They intend to lower human population by 10 to 15% through vaccines and genetically modified seeds. He said it. How does he intend to achieve this reduction in human population? Through the food we eat, genetically modified organisms, clothing, TV, heating, these are other things that he mentioned. According to him, this encompasses everything.
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3.
Africa, wake up. Nigeria, wake up. Please reject these foods and seeds with all you have got. If it has negative impacts on the environment and insects, thereby leading to the loss of biodiversity, what then do you think will happen to the human body, let alone our DNA configuration after the consumption of genetically modified organisms? Think about this and take religion and other sentiments aside. It is common sense. It promises big yield, yes, but the cons are way too high. When you see food regulatory agencies stating that the potential risks from eating genetically modified foods have not been fully investigated and that there is no scientific basis to conclude that genetically modified foods are safe, if this is so, why offer it to your population when the research hasn't been concluded in terms of its safety and potential harm? Please watch and carefully listen to Dr. Njemanze's other interview video. To wrap this up, Joseph Okechukwu, a renowned documentarian and a voice crying out to his people to be vigilant on global affairs and the New World Order in his latest video series, took time to analyze the situation as it is. Visit his YouTube channel and watch the videos on this series and others as well. Please reject the genetically modified foods and seeds. Go for the natural ones. To identify them, ask questions before you buy. They often look more robust than their natural counterparts. Also, follow your instincts. Remember this, nature takes care of itself. Stick to the natural, organic, non-genetically modified foods and animals. Never let these people do business with your life, okay? Please subscribe to this channel, like and share. Thank you. We'll see you in our next one. Bye.
GMO foods. Unveiling the landscape and debates beyond the laboratory.
Right now, we are going live to the United States of America, where we have the renowned Dr. Phillips Njamenze. He's connected live online, and he's a neurosurgeon. He would have loved to be here, but he's having some patients on life support. That's why he's not here. He's one of the biggest names in this sector that we're talking about today. So please, Yes, from Imo State, Nigeria, but he's currently in the US. So he joins us live from the US right now. Please, do we have him so that we can? Okay, good. Doctor, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you very much for having me. And I want to thank all the organizers of this, Prof. and all the other colleagues. This has been very, very enlightening. I'm so happy today to be with you. Today I'm going to focus just briefly on the health, and actually there's a big exposition I'm going to make so that we will understand what is going on. We have been talking in the Global Pro-Life Alliance that there should be a ban of all GMO seeds. There is no justification whatsoever. And let us look at the statistics. The U.S. Department of Agriculture produced this graph. I hope you are displaying the presentation which I sent to you. You will see that with use of the Roundup pesticide, the use of insecticides have only but increased in the U.S. starting from the year 2000 up to even the present day. So really, this idea that it actually helps to reduce the use of insecticide is just a big fat lie. It's not supported. This is data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Now, glyphosate by WHO has been declared a cancerogenic substance. So this is WHO. This is they did that on March 20th, 2015. So there is no scientific argument that will support that glyphosate. Does it cause cancer or it doesn't cause cancer? The evidence is very clear. We know that the Monsanto maize damages the liver and kidney. And the work by Seralini, which has actually exposed this whole mechanism on how this happens in very acute experiments, and this evidence has been reviewed and found to be correct. So you can see GMO foods cause liver, kidney failure, they cause breast cancer, they cause intestinal lesions, they cause liver, soy, for example, soy, GM soy actually has been found to damage the liver structure. Then it can cause prematurity, even in animals. You can see, I don't know whether you are seeing it, you will see a rat that is fed on normal foods, and then a very small rat of the same age that is fed on GMOs. So, and it can shrink the testes. It has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that those rats fed on GMO will have a shrunk testes. And it can cause leukemia. All the blood cancers have been shown by colleagues in Australia that this is the effect of it. Now, what they do is that they tell a lot of lies. You will see this work sponsored by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's called the yellow cassava. And the yellow cassava, they said, contains protein, that they have actually worked in the gene that will contain protein. That's why it justifies the use of GMO yellow cassava. It was a falsified work. You see, this is the scientific retraction showing that there is no protein in the so-called yellow cassava. Now, the same thing they made about the golden rice. Oh, the golden rice contains vitamin A. It will solve Africa's dietary deficit in vitamin A. That's not true. One piece of carrot contains more 40 times one bag of golden rice in vitamin A content. And spinach contains 100 times more vitamin A than a bag of golden rice. So this is just scientific falsification. Now, so we know celiac disease, which causes intestinal malabsorption, difficulty in digestion, anemias, thyroid cancer, low sperm count, kidney disease, is also caused by Roundup, our glyphosate. So, but what is happening in Nigeria? What is the real problem? Why is that? Where is this whole push? This thing started in 2005 when there was the G7 summit hosted by Tony Blair, and they got all the billionaires together and said, how going forward, how will the West survive? So the answer was, let us move into cloning, organ cloning. Now the organ cloning business is worth 30 trillion US dollars. That is 1/3 of world economy. What is it all about? As a doctor now, if somebody comes to me and say, okay, I have a bad heart, or so, I can actually put an ultrasound and then use a small needle, just prick that heart through the thoracic cavity and get a few cells. That cell I have gotten has a nucleus, the genetic material of that heart. If I send it to the biotech company, they can now put that cell, that nucleus, into an egg of a woman. That egg, they have to remove the nucleus of that egg so that this thing can be put in a culture, tissue culture, and it will grow into an exact heart that they can now send back to me, and we can now transplant it to that patient. So that will be exact replication. So that is the aim of organ cloning and tissue cloning. This business, they think, will change medicine and is worth 30 trillion US dollars. So every billionaire that is interested in this is working for this project. All the major countries of the West are working for this project. But the problem is, which woman will allow you to take their ovarian eggs? Because if we do that in the lab by a process we call somatic cell nuclear transfer, that means to take the egg and then take the nucleus from the diseased person into that egg. That process is a manual process, and it will consume over 100 million eggs just to carry out this process worldwide and perfect this technique. So where will you get 100 million eggs? That should come from minimum of 10 million women. So they looked at the map and saw Nigeria with 250 million people, largely ignorant of the sophistication of this. They looked at the place that has 70% of the tuber crops in for food. That is the Northeast. So in this Northeast, they formed this Boko Haram. They were the people who came up with it, started inciting program with mercenaries, and then saying that it's Islamic extremism. Now, let me give you an example on the Islamic extremism. Between 2015, for example, and 2018, 37,500 people died, were recorded dead from Boko Haram attacks by the U.S. Council on Foreign Relations. This was the data they provided to the Congress. Now, out of these 37,500, there were 32,000 Muslims. This is 85%. Now, 5,500 Christians, or people who are not Muslims. That is 15%. So you are talking about Islamic extremism that wiped away 85% of Muslims. But the real data comes even next. When you look at all those people who were killed, they were all natural seed growers in their communities. So they grow seeds. So the farmers go to them to buy seeds. So how come they were eliminated? How did they know who were the seed growers? A grant, and you can verify this, the press can verify this, a grant of 2 billion naira was given to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development under additional from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They gave what they call the electronic wallet. These are telephones, just the normal telephones, but it has NFC and GPS technologies. So they gave it to the farmers and said, okay, we will use it to fund this grant. If you go to buy seed from a seed grower, he will just sell it to you, and then you kick in the number and it will go through. You don't have to pay. So they publicized this as electronic wallet. So with this operation and computation with EFC technology, you could actually locate all the farmers, particularly the seed growers, to the nearest meter. They gave over this data to their mercenaries. What does it take to become a Fulani herdsman? Get anybody, put a turban on him, and arm him with an AK-47. And that's what happened. These were not Muslims, these were mercenaries. So they hired them from Libya, from Chad, from Liberia, from Niger Republic, and brought them into Nigeria. These are the people you are seeing now causing all this trouble. So they killed Nigerian farmers. When they killed Nigerian farmers, they set up the Biosafety Agency. They set it up and used their own people to man it. And you can see all the people who were Federal Ministry of Finance. Where is she now? She is the Deputy UN President Director. All the people. Where is Adesina now? He is the chairman of the African Development Bank. Who put them there? Bill Gates. So what had happened was that they put their people who are going to in strategic places and funded them. Now, these people, another law they passed through the National Assembly. And that was very much part of the argument that to stop this law is called the National Health Act. Most of you don't know this, and the populace don't know this, that if you go to any hospital in Nigeria, it is the doctor who says your organ can be taken without your consent. The doctor, the director of that hospital. It was written into the law. And it was written into the law that after 2 years, most of the hospitals that are in Nigeria will be closed. Now, people, you ask me, Prof, I'm just saying, am I just saying this? I was present, physically present at the General Electric headquarters in Abuja when GE executives came down from New York, invited the top leaders of the private healthcare sector, pharmacists, lab scientists, and doctors, and said, look, we are ready to pay you any amount for you to leave the health sector. I was sitting down there. And we said, are you mad? So the whole thing ended in a chaos. But we now knew that they said that Bill Gates was going to give us money, and then we will leave the health sector. He will replace the entire health sector with 260 hospitals in the first phase. And the contract has been given to General Electric. So that will tell you the entire reason for all this. And what are they looking for? The hospitals they are creating, Nigerians will go there either as organ donors or the egg donors. Because the egg, if you read that law, you will see that they say a gamete is not tissue. So it's not protected, which is gamete is the origin of all tissue. But if you read that, you will see. If you read that law in section 48 and 51, you will see that your organ can be collected without consent. In section 20, if you come on an emergency, it's declared free. Why do they want to say you should declare free healthcare in emergency? Because if you declare emergency, so you will be treated free, what will happen is that the doctor can decide to take your organ without your consent. The consent clause can be waived. Look at section 48 and section 51. So I argued before, representing the doctors of Nigeria. I argued at the National Assembly, and I told Ike Ekweremadu and Okowa and Ngige, they were sitting down on the government side. And I told them, I said, look, you can't do this. There were 5,000 Nigerians in that hall. You can't do this. And the Ekweremadu said, okay, no, what am I saying? He actually asked the entire press out of the place that they should take their TVs and everything and go ahead and get out of the place. And what now happened was that I now warned him before everybody. I said, Ekweremadu, you will be the first victim of this very law you are pushing. So this was what really happened. And what we are facing in this country is not just pushing of GMO, because the 10 million women who hello, yes, please. Okay, okay, yes, okay. So I'm told that the time is up. So, but you know, you can also ask questions later. Thank you very much.
GMO Foods, unveiling the landscape and debates beyond the laboratory.